Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 16. Fallout hits after death. Fallout is coming during Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 16. It's the next new episode of Chicago Fire after the show killed off an important character. The writers fashioned the March 5 episode to put many characters in peril. The promos and the episode forced fans to guess what would happen, but the show boss confirmed someone would die. Next, the characters will have to deal with everything that went down, and the Firehouse 51 chief is reeling after losing his wife. Are we about to watch a story arc that leads to Chief Dom Pascal leaving the job? Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 16 TV promo. Below is the TV promo for the next new episode. Only a few specifics about the next installment have been revealed, but the footage hints at Chief Pascal spiraling. Pascal will confront the driver who crashed into his wife's vehicle. He blames the man for what happened and may become frustrated to learn that Stella Kidd saved his life. As a reminder, the man in the accident was disoriented and walked into traffic, nearly getting hit by another vehicle, but Kidd jumped in front of that vehicle to push the man out of the way. Chicago Fire fans may also experience a time jump between now and the next episode. Pascal is already back at work, so a funeral and several weeks may have passed on the show. A one Chicago hiatus on NBC during March. The Chicago shows are on another break. Yes, the show returned for a few episodes before taking another hiatus. There are no new episodes of Med, Fire, or PD on March 12 or March 19. One Chicago returns on Wednesday, March 26. The night has important episodes for each show. Stay tuned for more information about what Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 16 will feature. Stella Kidd and Kelly Severide likely take another step in their adoption process. We will soon learn if Christopher Herman and Mouch have decided on specifics about their futures. Mouch could take a lieutenant slot at a neighboring station, and there have been hints about Herman retiring. Chicago Fire fans would miss them both. More from the One Chicago shows. Here's a breakdown of what happened with firefighter Sam Carver. Actor Jake Lockett plays the troubled man on the Chicago Fire cast. Eamon Walker is returning to Chicago Fire. The former chief at Firehouse 51, Wallace Bowden, is slated to return, and fans are excited. The morning after the tragedy felt like a different world. Firehouse 51 was eerily quiet, the usual bustling energy sucked out and replaced by a thick fog of grief. The locker room, the kitchen, even the apparatus floor. It was as if the heart of the house had stopped beating. Cap sat at the long kitchen table, staring blankly at his coffee as it went cold. Ritter poked at a half-eaten bagel, unable to force himself to eat. Bowden's office door was closed, but the silence behind it was deafening. A firefighter was gone, and the weight of it sat on their chests like lead. Severide had seen too much death in his career, but this one cut deep. He kept replaying it in his mind, if he had gotten there a second sooner, if he had pulled harder, if he had just. The thought was interrupted by Stella's hand on his arm. "Babe, don't do this," she whispered. Her eyes were red, a silent acknowledgement that she was battling the same demons. "It wasn't your fault." Severide exhaled, looking away. "Tell that to his family." A firehouse divided. Mouch and Herman sat in the common room, but they weren't speaking. Mouch kept running his fingers through his mustache, a nervous habit he hadn't shaken in years. Herman was gripping the arm of his chair so tightly his knuckles were white. "We need to do something," Mouch finally muttered. "What can we do?" Herman shot back, his voice sharper than intended. "The department will conduct their investigation, we'll get the standard safety protocols were followed speech, and then we're supposed to just move on." The bitterness in his tone mirrored what the rest of the house felt. It wasn't just grief, it was anger. Someone had made a call that cost their brother his life, and they weren't ready to let that go. The investigation. Van Meter arrived by midday. The CFD's internal safety investigation team was already knee-deep in paperwork, reviewing reports and body cam footage, but Van Meter didn't need evidence to see what was already plain as day. Firehouse 51 was broken. "I know this is tough," he started, addressing the group. "But we have to stay focused. We owe it to him. The words were meant to soothe, but they didn't land that way. You want us to stay focused? Kid snapped. Maybe you should start by telling us what really happened. Van Meter hesitated. The department was still piecing it together, but what was clear was that a command decision had gone wrong, leading to a flashover that no one could have anticipated, or so they claimed. The truth, the team didn't buy it, and Severide wasn't about to let it go. The fallout. Casey's return couldn't have come at a worse time, but the minute he stepped into Firehouse 51, he knew something was deeply wrong. He had barely exchanged greetings with Brett before she gripped his arm. It's bad, Matt. I know. He looked around at the people he had once called family. The tension was thick. Anger was bubbling under the surface. This wasn't just mourning. This was something else entirely. A rift between leaders. Bowden finally emerged from his office, his face carved from stone. We need to talk. The senior members of the House, Severide, Kidd, Casey, Herman, Mouch, filed in, taking their seats like soldiers ready for battle. We need answers, Herman said before Bowden could even begin. And we'll get them, Bowden promised. But we have to let the investigation play out. Severide scoffed, and in the meantime, we just sit here? Pretend like everything's okay. No, Bowden said, voice low. But we also don't burn this house down from the inside out. The words landed heavily, because that's exactly what was happening. Uncovering the truth. Severide didn't wait. That night he went digging. He pored over reports, rewatched footage, and eventually found himself standing in front of the one man who might have answers. Chief Robinson, the on-scene commander who had made the final call. You sent him in, Severide accused, voice barely above a growl. He had a chance, Robinson countered, but there was guilt in his eyes. I made a judgment call. A bad one. Robinson sighed. You think I don't know that? Severide clenched his fists. There was nothing else to say. The damage was done. Closure. Or something like it. The next morning the house gathered for a final send-off. The streets were lined with firefighters from every house in the city, standing shoulder to shoulder, saluting as the fallen was taken to his final resting place. Severide stood with Kidd, Casey beside them. Mouch and Herman flanked Bowden. Brett squeezed Ritter's shoulder as tears slipped down his face. This was their reality. A cycle of love and loss, of sacrifice and pain. But as the bagpipes played and the salute echoed through the air, they stood together. Because that's what Firehouse 51 did, no matter what.